Facebook and clay. Teaches you how vanity tray. That was fun. I also have a fern, I think it's asymmetrical tray that we did, and we did leaf, all kinds of things. We did a fern pendant. So there's a ton of things on there that I use leaves, and because where I live, I'm in the woods, and so there's leaves everywhere in the summer. So it just makes sense for me who lives in the forest to use leaves. So I've got some leaves here that I just went out and collected. Nice, great big fern leaf. That's nice. Isn't that beautiful? I have so many of these growing outside my studio. Of fern it is. I just know it looks fabulous when I put it in clay. So, and they're big. The great thing about these is if you want to make platters, you have this gorgeous long fern, you can make a nice big platter. Now, you can reuse the ferns. They're very delicate, so out of all the leaves, the ferns are the most difficult ones to reuse. But other leaves are a little more hardy, so you can reuse them over and over, like this beech tree, beech leaves. And what I use to judge if a leaf is going to look good in clay is I turn it over and I look at the back. You want to look at the veining on the back. And if there's a lot of raised texture there, that's going to transfer into your pottery. That's what you want to have. So this is a beech little leaf off of the beech tree that's growing outside of the studio. So I grabbed one of those because I love these. This is actually a beech leaf right here, this one there. So not this one because I made this a couple years ago, but same species. This one's a little different shape. This is kind of funky because it's got this big part and then these little smaller parts. And then I grabbed this leaf. I have no idea what this leaf is. I think it's something in the ash family. Someone said it's a wild, like a fake grape leaf, but the back has some great texture going on there. And I make these little bowls with them. So that was one of these, a little smaller than this one here that I used for this, but these are really fun. I also like to use hosta leaves, but I just wasn't willing to cut a leaf off my hosta. I'll only take the leaves off the hostas right before the last frost because they're going to die anyways. So if I know it's going to frost that night, I will go out and I'll take some leaves so that I can use them. But I just don't like to cut the foliage off the trees if I don't have to. Often I don't make leaf pieces until it's fall, or I wait until after a storm and I can go out and collect leaves. So hey everybody tuning in, I see Janet says clay share makes Wednesday better. I love hearing that. And then I got a couple other leaves. This is from my lilac tree. I've never actually put the lilac leaves in pottery before, so I thought that would be a fun one to play with. And then I got two different maples. Yes, this is a maple leaf. Those of you out there who are thinking that's not a maple leaf, it's a Japanese maple. It's beautiful, and it is a lovely little leaf. And then this is my maple tree that when we bought our house was just a little tiny sapling, and now it's a great big maple that provides lovely shade, and I just love it. So in the fall I'll collect all the maple leaves and I'll make maple leaf spoon rests and all kinds of other pottery with maple leaves on it. You've used rhubarb leaves for platters. Great big rhubarb leaves, or if you have elephant ears, you can make them out of that. I don't have any rhubarb. Nobody in my family likes rhubarb. A lot of comments saying they love nature and clay. That leaf. So this is a tray I did, and this I believe is a grape leaf, something in the grape leaf family. And you might notice all the glazes are very similar. I really like to use the Georgie's interactive pigments to, look at this one. Is that gorgeous? I love this plate. So the Georgie's system of glazes and pigments, it's a pigment, which is like an oxide. It's a combination of multiple oxides. You put that on first after it's been bisked. So this is kiln once. And then you'll wipe the excess away, and then you glaze on top. So it's a two-step process for the finishing. But I love the results of this. And this is sand and surf with zinc-free clear. I believe that's what I used on this one. I can look it up in my notes, though, if anybody out there absolutely has to know. I can tell you for sure. And then this here is autumn foliage pigment with eggshell wash glaze. So the eggshell wash is a really nice satiny matte glaze. This is the same combo, just a little heavier application of glaze. When you go light with the glaze, you get more brown tones. When you go heavier, you get more green, blue tones. So I see Diane says, when will this be available to watch? Because she's got to go do stuff. We will put these up. Usually we start loading these up after the broadcast, usually an hour after they end, but it just takes sometimes a little longer to get them up. It'll definitely be up by tomorrow morning. Usually they're up by midnight though. Sometimes sooner. Depends. We're kind of at the mercy of the internet and load it up. And then I have one here, which is a different glaze. This is Shadow Blue from Clayscapes Pottery. And I did black speedball underglaze first. I stained it, and then I wiped away the excess, and then I glazed it with the Shadow Blue. So the black filled in and really highlights the texture. And then you have a beautiful celadon glaze on top. And so that's one thing I really wanted to mention is when you're going to use something delicate like a leaf for your impression and your texture, you don't want to put a heavy, thick glaze. Like this combo of glazes, which is amazing. This is Pink Opal and Celadon Bloom from Mako. They're our sponsor this month, so I have to give them a shout out. So yay, Mako, who I might as well tell you is doing, we're doing a giveaway with Mako. We're giving away 4 of their stoneware glaze kits, which is 32 ounces of glaze, 8 little bottles in here. And we're going to be giving away 4 of these, drawing on the 29th. And to enter, if you're a premium member of clayshare.com, you're already entered. If you are not, just sign up for our email list on clayshare.com and you can be entered to win. And next week I will be glazing with Mako. So next week's live broadcast will be glazing, and I'll be showing you some more of my cool glaze combos, and you can actually suggest combos you want to see, and I'll give them a try for you and let you know how they work out. And if you can't wait to win, you know what? You can buy your Mako glazes from clayscapespottery.com, and if you use the code EXPLORE10, you can save 25% off retail price. Okay, that's all the business stuff out of the way. Let's put some leaves in clay. Let's do it. So I see John says, off topic, but I've been trying to get the Amico layering packet with no luck. So usually I get those from conferences. They usually have them there. Amico doesn't really send them out. They used to send them out, but they stopped doing that because of costs. I don't know if anybody out there has a suggestion for John. Where can he get himself an Amico glaze layering packet? You can always look online. They do have all the same information online. It's just nice to have that little packet that you can look at. And I'm sure Amico will be coming on board as a sponsor later in the year. So we'll be doing more Amico stuff later. So I'm going to clear my workspace so I can get some clay and we can put it in, put some leaves in it. So I'm trying to keep up with the comments. Do ferns, do ferns. I'll do the fern.
Yeah, a lot of people getting some choppiness in the feed. It's on our end.
We're having choppy. Why are we choppy?
We're good to the road, but it's Vermont.
What's good? Well, that's true. I do live in Vermont. It's true. It is. And it's a thing. You know, you have to take these things into consideration. So I've rolled out a slab ahead of time. And a lot of people will always ask me how to store your slabs. I rolled this slab out, what day is today? Wednesday? Monday. I rolled this out Monday. And it's still ready to use. And what I did is after I rolled the slab out, I put a sheet of plastic down on my board. I then laid my slab on the board. And then I put another sheet of plastic on top.
Overhead?
Yeah, let's switch to overhead.
Full or
Ah, you can put the overhead on the full. Show us so everybody can see what's going on. So I'm going to remove the top plastic. Hold on. I'll zoom out. Ooh, now you get the whole table, everybody. You can see the whole thing. I'm just going to trim the excess off the edges here. Put that over there for now. So I have plastic underneath it. It's kept it nice and flexible and wet and still pliable, but it's not as wet as it was when I first rolled it out. So it's not so soft that it's floppy. It's still very, very pliable. It hasn't really dried much at all. But you know when you first roll out your slab and you're struggling because it's kind of mushy and it won't hold a shape? This clay is now perfect and ready to have things made with it. And I'm just going to go ahead and flip it over. So I just grab the whole thing, the slab and the plastic, and then I just flip it out. And there we have our big slab. We get a great big slab of clay. And now we're going to go ahead, I'm going to grab my tools. And let me grab a rib. So I'm going to be using a red rib today, I think, because my yellow one has porcelain all over it because I'm working on some other pieces. This is Laguna B-Mix, that's the clay here. And because I roll my slabs out on a slab roller, it'll have a lot of texture on it, which I want to put my own texture in. So I want to get rid of this texture and put my own on there. Oh, Sharon, I'm glad you love our channel and that you're learning every time you learn something. How many pounds is that? And is it 1/4 of an inch? This is actually 3/8 of an inch thick. I like to roll them out a little thicker than I'm going to need because I plan to thin it out when I roll my texture into it. This is probably, I usually roll out 12.5 pounds at a time, and this is probably about half of that. So I'd say it's 6 pounds of clay right here that I've got in front of me that we're going to work with. And so for the platter we're going to do, hey Kevin, I need you to grab me my other big wear board. It's down there by my cookie cutter rack. So we get this one side smoothed out, and then we have to smooth the other side. Now I'm going to show you how to flip clay. I will take my arm like this and drape the slab over, and then I'll lift it up and then lay it back down. So this is how I will flip a big slab like that. Thanks, hon. And then we'll smooth the other side. Ah, Carolyn's in North Carolina, but you're from Wethersfield, Vermont. Well, hello. I moved here from North Carolina. So we switched, right? You went from Vermont to North Carolina, and I went from North Carolina to Vermont. All right, so once we have it all smoothed out, we're going to make a platter, and I'm thinking, let's see, how big is it going to be? So you have a couple options when you have a leaf like this. You can go ahead and use a form that has a predetermined shape, and then you're kind of locked into this shape being the shape of your platter. Or you can do it much more asymmetrical or free form or whatever you want. And I really like doing that with these because it's a fern and I want the whole fern to show. Now, if you have something that's big enough, a form, I wonder if I have one. Kev, do I have a platter form over there? GR pottery form that you can grab me that will work for this?
Let me see.
If he's going to go grab me one, we can do a big platter. Not too big, mind you,
Gigantic.
but big enough, right? It's the Goldilocks size platter is what we need to do.
Like one of these big elongated ones?
How do I roll out a piece that size? Elizabeth, I've shown how to roll out this. If you go to clayshare.com, you can see my Bailey slab roller review, and I show you how I use my slab roller. Now, you can roll out slabs this big with a rolling pin if you want to. For me, because I have a slab roller, it's not really necessary, but I have rolled out big slabs on the broadcast before, so it would be, yeah, that one there is good. This is a good one. Look at this. So we know this shape is going to get all the fern. All the fern's going to be in here. So we know that's going to work. Now the last time I used this with a brown clay, and I'm switching to a light clay. So what I'm going to do is I'm actually go in and scrub it clean a bit because I don't really want the little bits of brown clay caught in my beautiful cream colored clay. Now if you wanted to do this same technique using dark clay, you can. What you would do is to highlight your texture. You'd use a light colored underglaze or slip to go in there, and so it would be a light on dark instead of the dark on light like I usually do. So advice for helping students set up their home studio for distance learning. That is a whole like 3-hour little workshop, honestly. So my suggestion is, have them find a place. I'll just give you a quick couple minute what I would do for students at home. Have them find a place that they can work where it's kind of out of the traffic of the house, right? Kind of out of the way. If they have an outside space, a garage or a shed's better than in the house, but they can work in the house if they have to. And for clay, if they can't get to a kiln, which I'm assuming they won't be able to, you can focus on projects that use air dry clay and things that you won't necessarily use for foodware. Now you won't be firing it, but it still gives them an idea of how the clay can respond in the tactile experience of working with clay. But that's a huge topic, and we could do a broadcast on that another time, but it's a very important one, isn't it? It's something that everybody's thinking about right now. You just got your North Star slab roller assembled and wondered if you should use the canvas or some other material. So canvas is great. My slab roller came with canvas, so I continue to use the canvas. Now, a lot of people, the canvas is dusty, so I'm always rinsing it out. A lot of people don't like that aspect of it. So my suggestion for you is you could look at a slab mat, which is a different product that doesn't hold the dust. And they're a little pricey, but they really can do a great job. And they don't leave the canvas texture, but you still want to kind of compress your clay and smooth it out. All right, so I think we're going to switch to the overhead again. And I'm just going to give myself a little tracing because I want to make sure that I'm going to have enough room for everything. So let me grab, this is a little rubber color shaper, clay shaper tool. I'm just going to trace around my platter. And so that lets me know the edges, and I can smooth this out. So when I place my fern in, I can decide, do I want my fern to go straight across? Do I want to do it at an angle? I kind of like the jauntiness of it at an angle, right? That's fun. So I think we'll probably do the angle. But I don't want to lose the tip. We're going to have a side, right? We're going to have a side. So if I put the tip to here, that means the tip's going to come right up to here. And I don't want to lose it. So I'm going to back this down a bit to about here. And I have the back of the fern. When you look at plants, they have a front and back. When you look at leaves, I have the back on the clay. And I'm just going to use my fingers to lightly press. And you can arrange, like if you don't like the way this leaf is, you can arrange it. Those two are crossing each other. I'm going to adjust those. Oh, it smells so good. I love that green plant smell. I don't know how else to describe it, of ferns. It's like a fresh, green, woodsy smell. I love it. Okay, so we have our fern pressed lightly, but now we want to really roll it in the clay because we want to get the texture in there. All right, so I see when you unload glazed foodware that has sharp bits, how do you sand it? So Krista, I will use a sanding pad and I will sand it down. You get it wet and then you sand it. I like Diamond Core Tools sanding pads, but there's a lot of pads out there. So I'm just going and pressing this in. Now, you have an option at this point. You could decide you want the clay and the plant to be light, the impression, and the rest could be dark. You could brush a slip or underglaze on this entire piece right now, but then you have to wait for that to dry, and then you'll remove this, then you can use it. And for the, because of time, we can't really do that, but I might be able to do it on a smaller piece after. We'll see if I end up with some time. So this is what I'm gonna have for my alignment, and I'm pretty happy with that. So I'm going to peel it off. And if you do it gently and you don't break your fern, you'll be able to reuse it a few times. So then you don't feel quite so bad plucking it off the bush there. There. So it's very subtle, but I promise you it shows up. Look at this one right here. You can see the fern. You completely can see the fern. How about this one? This is another one you can really see how that fern texture looks. So now I'm going to take the platter form, and I'm just going to go ahead and I made a decision. I don't want my rim to be bigger. I want this to be a rim like this. Do you see how a rim just kind of comes up the wall and stops? That's what I'm going for. And because of that, I am just going to actually cut the exact shape of my platter out. So I'm going to use the platter as the template and as the mold. So it's doing everything for me. I don't need anything else. It's going to do it all. And I'm just going to go ahead and cut with my knife all the way around. Then we'll lift the platter part off. So we have this really nice little oval here. And I'm going to move this carefully to another board, and then I'm going to switch boards. So I'm going to put this on the board I have back here. You want to take a board from me? Mm-hmm. I'll need it back in a minute. I'll need it back later, but I'm going to give this to Kevin. Thanks, take that. So now we have our clay oval. We made a clay oval. See, there's a question about NCECA. Okay, so to go to the conference, do you join NCECA? Also, do they teach classes there? And if so, is that extra? So, Kitty, to go to the conference, you do sign up as a member. You don't have to be a member of NCECA, but it's more cost effective if you are. So you sign up as a member of NCECA, and then you pay your conference fee. So it's 2 different fees. And that conference fee, if you pay for the whole 4 days of NCECA, entitles you to attend every class, every workshop, every lecture, and get into every exhibition and demo, everything that's going on, you will be able to get into it. So you won't miss out on anything. And I do suggest, if you're going to go to NCECA, try to do the whole thing. It's a lot, but there's a lot going on, but it's so worth it. So now I'm just going to line this up. And you might think that the fern texture is going to be squashed, but it's not going to. We're going to do this. So now I'm going to flip the whole thing over, and I'm going to hold it. Sorry, everyone probably can't see from the overhead. And what I'm doing under here is I'm actually peeling the side down a bit. Let me set it down on the... I'm using my hand to kind of peel the clay away from the board that it's on, but we'll sit it down. I'll pull it up. So now I have my clay slab on the form, and we're going to grab our banding wheel. And if you have problems with your little work boards or your molds sliding around on your banding wheel, make one of these little gripper pads. I've got a free class you can go watch on ClayShare and learn how to make your own gripper pad. It's fabulous. You can make them for banding wheels, you can make them for your throwing wheel, whatever you need to use it for. So now I'm just going to smooth out the clay, and then on the sides I'm just going to wrap it around. Now this is a GR pottery form that I'm using right now. Of course, you can get other things and you can make your own forms, and actually I'll do something in a minute where we'll use a form that I made. So I'm just letting the rib ride along here and shaping it to the platter form. And because we're not going to put a foot on this, now you can put a foot, let me show you, here's a lovely little foot right here. But we're not going to put a foot on this. We're going to leave it footless. A lot of times people ask, like, do you have to put a foot on? Do not have to put a foot on. Not at all. not even a little bit. It's entirely up to you. I often put feet on things. I just like the look of a foot. That's all I can say about it. All right, so this one is ready for me to flip it off. The mold, that is. That's terrible sounding. I'm going to put my board back on it, and I'm going to flip the whole thing over. The whole kit and caboodle. We're going. You press leaves in your clay, and now it's in the kiln, and you can't wait to open it in the morning. That's very exciting. It's always exciting. So ideally, in a perfect world, you're going to let this set up for a little bit in the form, because when I pull this form off a big slab of clay like this platter, what's going to happen is we're going to have a little slumping on the sides. But for this, I'm going to pull it off quickly so you can see it, and then we'll put it back on for letting it dry the rest of the way. But this is going to give you a view of it. So let's see if we can get it to come off. Now, if your mold won't come off, it means it's not ready. So don't fight it, usually I tell people. So here we have the start of a really gorgeous platter. This is the leaf part in clay. So this will need to dry. I'm going to put it back on the form and turn the form back over, and I'm going to let it set up for a couple hours, probably 2 or 3 hours. And then I'll flip it back over and remove it. And what I will do to my edges, you see how raw and rough these edges are? I will wait till the plate is entirely leather hard, and then I will use a Surform. This is from the hardware store. And you'll take this and you just pull it along. It's kind of like a cheese grater for pottery. And you just pull it along gently, and it will smooth it out. And then take a sponge and then smooth your rim with the sponge. Now, this piece here, I might be able to just leave it. I think if I don't touch it, we can just leave it. And sometimes with flat forms like this, we get a bowing in the bottom. So I will put something to weigh it down once this is stiffened up a bit. So probably like 9 or so tonight, it'll be dry enough that I can put some weights on it. If not, I'll cover it lightly, and then tomorrow I'll put weights on it. And weights can just be some rice or kitty litter in a little bag of some sort. I like to use old shirt sleeves and use them as weight bags. So we have this right here. How easy was that, right? Does it warp the board? It does not warp the board. No. These boards here are treated with 2 coats of water-based polyurethane, and this one here is over, goodness, this one's a year old now, and we've got no warping or delamination. I've been using it for, goodness gracious, the whole year, and it's doing great. All right, so we're going to put that platter. Let's do something a little different. Do you want to pass me back the clay? Mm-hmm. You're thinking about starting to mix your own glazes, and you'd like to try my 2167 clear. Are there other types of silica? So the best silica, there's one for glazes you really want to use. That's 325 mesh silica. That's really what you want if you're going to be making your own glaze. It's fine enough mesh that you'll be able to get good results with glazes. Anything with bigger mesh is not going to give, the particles aren't going to disperse properly, so you won't get results as good as you would like. Let's do something fun. We're going to use this beech leaf here, and we don't actually need a lot of clay. So I'm going to take a little bit of clay, just scoop some things out of my way. You can never have enough room, ever, never. Doesn't matter how big your studio is, you can never have enough room for everything. I'm always saying I need a bigger studio. You know, my first studio was a bathroom. It was just a simple little guest bathroom. Tiny, tiny space. About as big as where I'm standing right now. That's about as much space as I had in my first studio. And I did that for 3 years. And now I have a 2-story barn with a kiln shed off the back. And I'm like, I don't have enough room. Doesn't matter how big it is, you're going to fill it up. It's just how it is, right? So I'm smoothing this out. I just want to make sure my clay is going to fit on here. And we're going to do something really, really free form with this. Tap it down, and then I'm going to crush it in with a rolling pin. And if you have a pony roller or a little brayer, I don't know where my pony roller went. It was on my cart. But those work really well too, but a great big rolling pin works just as nice. Now we're going to release the clay. And you have a choice. You can take this out if you want to take it out, or you can leave it in. I'm kind of torn. If you leave it in, it will burn out. The only issue, thanks, this is called a pony roller, this little guy right here. And what I love about it is you can really get in and press it in. All right, so why would we leave this in clay, or why would we take it out? So if you leave it in, you know that you're not going to lose any of your texture as you're making the piece, right? But if you don't take it out, this stem is sometimes really stiff and thick, and it can actually poke through the back side. So ideally, you will remove this, and I'm just going to come in with my knife and pull it out. And this is that beech leaf, right? That's this one. That's one of these right here. And I know it looks like there's nothing there, but look, it does stay. It's delicate, but it stays. I see a bunch of people are tuning in from all over, California and Montana and everywhere. I love it. So now we're just going to cut kind of crazy. Like the last thing we did, we had an idea because we had a GR pottery form we were using. This one, we don't really have anything telling us what shape it should be. So I just made kind of a funky oval. And if you wanted to stop here and you wanted to make a piece that was a wall hanging, you could just leave it flat and you could put a little hole in it and hang it, and you would have made a really fun wall hanging. Have I rolled leaves into the clay and left the leaf in the clay and fired it? It will burn out, Stacy. Yeah, so what will happen is when you pull the piece out of your bisque fire, you will have to just clean it off with a damp sponge because there'll be bits of leaf left, like ash, really left in there. But you can do it. You can leave them in. The only condition is like what I was mentioning here. These stems of the leaf sometimes are really stiff and they don't want to bend. So we're going to drape this over this form right here. And if we have a really stiff leaf, the stem's not going to bend. It'll actually pop through the back of our clay. So that's a consideration. So we're just going to drape this over, and I'm going to use my hands. And then gently, because I don't want to crush it, with my pony roller, you just roll this on to conform it to the shape. So this was a wheel-thrown mold, a drape mold that I made. It's just basically a bowl that when I trimmed it, I didn't trim a foot on it. I just let it continue with the curve. And it made this really great shape. And so I get this lovely curve in the pottery. But they do need to sit on the molds for a little while, or else it'll fall, it'll flop. So let's make some feet. Water-based polyurethane versus oil-based for the boards. Is it better to use a water-based? Kevin answered. Yeah, so he got that. But for those of you watching, a water-based is better. It's slightly more porous, so your clay won't stick quite as much as with an oil-based. But, I mean, you could use an oil-based and then sand through if you can't get the water-based, like if it's just not possible. So I'm going to roll out a little coil because we're going to make some feet. And last week, you know how we made sprigs? If you made some sprigs for feet, you could now use that instead of rolling out a coil like I'm going to show you. You could just press your clay into your little feet sprigs like I showed you how to make, which mine are in the bisque, and they will be ready Friday morning. They'll come out Friday. So I will have foot sprigs Friday, just not today. Gotta wait. So I'm going to cut a little chunk. That might be a little big. That might be too big for a foot for this. We'll go this big. And then I'm going to use this as my guide, and then I'm going to cut 4 more. I think we're going to do 4 feet. How many did I do on this? So this is what we're doing. 4 feet like this. And you could do 3 if you want to. I'm going to do 4. This is the great thing about making pottery. Is like someone can do it with 4 and you can be like, no, I want 3. Do 3. Because it's yours. You get to do what you want with it, right? So now I'm going to go ahead and roll these into a little ball. So after the sprig class, you made a sprig mold with prickly pear cactus pad. Robin, I want to see that. Share that. I bet that's amazing. I have a prickly pear cactus I bought when I was in Arizona, and I brought home all the way to Vermont. It lives on my windowsill. It's only one. It doesn't have any babies off of it yet, but it's still alive, which is kind of a record for me because I tend to kill things like plants. The best plant for me is something I can just forget about, or it goes outside. 4 feet, just like that. And you just space them how you want. Now, this has a curved bottom, the mold I'm using, so I don't really have a flat base to work off of, but that's all right. I'm just going to space these out in a way that it will be supportive and in a way that I like. Let me grab my ribbon slip. Oh, do you want to grab me my gallon of magic water? Do you know where I put that? Is it down there? So we talked about magic water. Was it last week we were talking about magic water? We talked about magic water last week, and I made a batch up. I made a gallon of it, and magic water is just a gallon of water, 3 tablespoons of sodium silicate, the liquid version, and 1.5 teaspoon of soda ash. So that's what I used. And I mixed it up, and this is what I use for the water to join my feet, and it's also what I use for making my slips. So when I need more water in my slip, I just use my magic water and fill it up. Now, I've switched over lately to containers that have lids so that my magic water is not evaporating out, because I don't want to keep remaking it if I don't have to. But just for tonight, we're going to go with it as is. And then I have my rib. Leslie says, no, 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 not cactus. She looks at them, and you look at them and you get a splinter. Yeah, I've done really fairly well. Cactus and succulents seem to be the kind of plant that is for me. Or anything that can just be left to grow wild outside. So I'm slipping and scoring the little foot ball, and then I put it on, and then when I pull it off, there's a little damp spot left behind, so I know that's where I need to make my slipping and scoring mark. And now the next part, you can leave these little balls if you want to and just kind of wiggle them on, and you'll feel them catch, and when they catch, that's when you know it's on there. But I like to shape mine just because I really want some character to it, and I really want to make sure it's joined well. So I'll do little pinching motions, and I just pinch in and press down at the same time, just like that. And I'll do it over here too. Pinch in, press down. I've been making these feet for as long as I've been making pottery this way. It's great. I love when I'm teaching kids to make feet this way because they love doing it. They get to pinch their fingers, and it's so fun. And I think it's fun for adults too. I enjoy it. So now I'm going to wipe off any slip that has squeezed its way out. We'll clean that up. And then, see where I put my little color shaping tool. I set it down somewhere. It's probably rolled off my table. It's gone. There's one. Nope, that's not it. I don't know where they all went to. I got a big, is this one big enough? This is ridiculous. I bought a set online, and I didn't realize how big they were. But you can use it. But I got a whole bunch of them that are this big, and I'm just like, well, you never know. You might sculpt some really big stuff. Because you never know, right? You really never know. Sharon, your 13-year-old granddaughter just finished a plate and bowl with GR pottery forms, and she was so excited. That is the best. I love that she was making pottery with you. I love that. When you can share making with someone else, someone special to you, that's the absolute best. It's the best because you're making something, a piece of pottery, but you're also making memories. And there's nothing more valuable or precious than that. Those are really what we need to treasure, right? Is that time we get to spend together with our loved ones. Right, so now I'm just going to smooth it out. normally I will let this drape on the mold until maybe about 20-30 minutes. We're gonna pull it off. So I'm just rounding this edge over with my finger and the sponge. And then to make sure this is nice and flat, what I'm gonna do is grab a board. And I'm just gonna sit this board on top. Just gonna sit it right on top and just kind of tap it flat. And when I pull it off, you'll see that the feet have little flat spots on them now. So now they're level. So I don't have to worry about the wibble wobble that we get, right? It's good. No wibbling and wobbling here. Yeah, sharing memories is the absolute best. Let me grab that board back. I took it away. I actually need it to flip this out onto. So could you use round styrofoam for a mold, Debbie? That's a really, really good question. You can. It tends to stick, so I would use a bit of plastic wrap between your clay and on the styrofoam mold. I actually have a class we used. What class did we use the styrofoam ball in?
Ooh.
I can't remember anymore. I hate that. So many classes, I can't remember everything. So we just flipped the whole thing over, and here's our fun little piece right there that we made. And, you know, for something like this, I would really like the sides to curl up a little bit too. So I'm just going to take my fingers, and I'm just going to gently curl the sides up, because the ends curl up nicely on their own, right? Look at the difference I just did. So we have this side here, which I curled up just enough to hold something in here. This side we left alone. So if you were going to use this for anything that might leak, right, it's going to run off. But by curling the edge up here, we've stopped that. Now if you were going to use this for keeping some, you know, sea stones that you collect or put a tea light on, don't have to worry about it. But I never know what's going to happen with this. So Charlotte knew.
The egg separator.
The egg separator. I forgot about the egg separator class. Oh my gosh. I love you guys. I love that you all remember, because what I have done so many classes. I have never taught so much as I have in the last 3 years. I mean, thousands of hours of classes that I filmed for you all, and I've loved it so much. And I'm just, you know, keep going, but I can't remember half of them. And I always like to feature a class every few days to kind of, you know, remind people what's on there. And maybe to remind myself, because I'll be looking through the catalog of classes and I'm just like, I did that already. Like, or I'll be like, that's cool. And then I go look and I'm like, oh, I already did that. Like, I forget what I've even done. So now I'm just going to smooth my edges. It could be a fabulous soap dish, right? So if you wanted to put holes in this, you could, right? So the soap could drain. You could totally do that. Let it stiffen up till it's leather hard and then put holes in it. But look what we have. We have this really sweet, it would be a perfect soap dish. Perfect. And here's the little finished one. It also is a great sponge holder. You know, maybe it's nice, too nice for the studio, right? But if you put this in your kitchen, you put some holes in the bottom so that it can drain, or maybe you don't want the water dripping down. Just sit it on there. So this leaf here is some kind of an oak leaf, I believe. I did this last fall. So I didn't see any of these out there today when I was looking in the woods, but these are fun. These are fun. So I don't know, do we have time enough for me to do one? I think we have time enough for me to do a little one that we can put underglaze on to show you. I might not be able to finish it, but I'll show you how the underglaze works if you're going to use that as a resist. So let's see if we have time to do one of those. I think we do. And we're going to do a maple leaf because I love it. Or should we do the Japanese maple? I will let you pick. What do y'all think? Japanese maple? Regular maple? First person who puts the comment up will do Japanese maple, regular maple. First comment, I'll do it. So where can you get the ingredients for magic water? I buy my sodium silicate and my soda ash from my clay supplier, and you could probably find them. I bet clayscapespottery.com has them. And the Japanese. All right, that's it. Japanese maple it is. All right, we're gonna do this. Isn't this the most delicate, beautiful little leaf? Oh my gosh, I love it. I've never put the Japanese maple in clay. I've never. You know, our Japanese maple was here when we bought our house, and it's been kind of sick. Why are you laughing? Because I'm talking about our tree?
No.
Poor Kevin.
I'm laughing at Rich.
Oh, well, I don't even want to know where that's going.
Well, he's in 420 because the Japanese maple looks
I know it does. I know it does, but it's not. It's a Japanese maple. Anyhow, we bought the house 14 years ago, almost 15, and it had this tiny little Japanese maple. Teeny weeny, like little. And I didn't think it was going to make it. I thought it was going to die. It's been sickly, and now it's gorgeous. So I've done nothing to it. I have to say, it has nothing to do with me at all. Hey, Kev, grab my cookie cutter set off the end of my slab roller, my circles. We're going to do a circle. So I'm going to go ahead and press the leaf in really well. Japanese maple leaf, Rich. Thank you. Actually, the one I want one of my big ones. Look in the drawer. I think the second to bottom drawer. So we press it in, but we're going to do something to it, right? We're not just going to leave it alone. We're going to put a color on it. What color should we put on it? You hear Kevin's comment too. That one might be too big. Let's see. Is this too big? Oh, that's perfect. So this is a 5-inch cookie cutter. This is the size I use to make my spoon rest. This is probably going to end up being a spoon rest. I'm going to go ahead and cut this shape out now. So now I have a beautiful little circle. You could leave this alone and it could become a coaster. And you could leave the leaf in it and it would just burn away in the kiln if you wanted to. You could use a small former mold and make a plate like this for this guy right here. But we are going to put a colored underglaze on it. What color do you guys want? I was thinking of doing black. What do y'all think? Rust, fire brick. So we're really limited to to underglazes right now. We could go with the carmine. Let's do the carmine. I like this color a lot, and that's one of the new ones from Speedball. So we're doing it. We're gonna do it right now. But I'm gonna get another board because I really don't want the carmine on my work board, and I don't want to get it on another piece of clay. So I'm gonna switch that out. Now I'm actually gonna grab my banding wheel. See, I have all the space back here now since I redid the studio. We have the clay share corner, we're calling it. A burnt red. The carmine will be a gorgeous, gorgeous red. Any brush will do. I actually really like fan brushes for this application, but you can use any brush you want. Purple, blue. The carmine's kind of in the middle, sorta. Any tips on making coasters? Does it need cork? So Krista, I have a class on making coasters. It's called Thirsty Coasters. You can do multiple things with it. You can mine the Thirsty Coasters. You leave porous so they absorb the moisture from your beverage. Now, I put little felt pads on the bottom of mine. I'll do 3, actually usually 4 little felt pads on the bottom, but you could cut out cork or a sheet of felt and stick that to the back of it too if you wanted to. So let's go ahead and apply this. I just try to always go in the same direction, whatever direction I've picked. So this is doing 2 things at once. We're getting the impression, which is our texture, and our color at the same time. So it's using this as a texture tool and as a stencil. So it's a twofer deal right here. Now normally we will let this set because you want this to not be shiny. Do you all see how it has a sheen to it right now? The shiny, you want to wait for the sheen to go away and then you peel this off. And you could do multiple colors. You could do an ombre if you wanted to. You could have like a red to like the mandarin orange and then to the saffron yellow if you wanted to do like a warm tone ombre. So you could go from one color to the next. I wonder, you know, I want to do it. But if I do it, then this will take longer to dry and I want to pull it off for you. But we'll see. Maybe in my private broadcast for premium members, we'll do that. We'll do an ombre. I think we will. We're going to do plates, but we can do an ombre too. All right, so let's go ahead and see if we can get this off. So I'm just trying to keep up with the comments. You love the Thirsty Coasters. Although you bought them, you didn't make them yourself. It doesn't matter. It doesn't matter. You know what? Buying, making, it's all good. So I want to find a section to start peeling up. I don't just want to go digging in here randomly. So you want to start where you can see a bit of a leaf. And I like it when I can find the stem, which is back here. Let's see if we can get that stem. It's under there. Nope, we're going to go with this leaf down here then. This is the part that's the easiest to grab right now. Oh, I bumped it with my finger, but I can go back in and I can clean that up after. There we go. Just want to make sure you're getting enough so you can pull it off. Look at that. Look how gorgeous that came out. That's beautiful. I'm going to fix this part here though, where my finger bumped it. Because see how easy it is to fix? Look at that. I'm pulling it up really close for the camera. I don't know if it's even focusing. Probably not. It's probably giving the camera a heart attack. But look at how cute that is, right? This is a Japanese maple leaf. FYI. Everybody out there who thinks it's something else, it's not. It can be if that's what you want to. Look, this is a judge-free zone. If you want to put any leaf at all you like in your pottery, you do that because it's your pottery. Just like if you want 3 feet versus 4 feet, you do that too because it's your pottery. And all I'm trying to do is share some techniques and some ideas to get you going and get you on your way and to show you it's really easy. You know, a lot of people think that you have to have a degree to make pottery. All you have to have is a desire. That's it. If you want to make pottery, you can make pottery. That's it. That's the only requirement is you want to do it. You could do this. I just showed you how. So go make some, right? How easy was that, right? It's so fun. So you could hit it with a hairdryer to speed up drying, Judy. Yes, you can. So if you're in your studio and you're limited, and it's a great tip, you could use a hairdryer and you could dry it a bit so that you don't have to wait too long. Usually when I'm working, I'll have a whole bunch of things laid out. So just part of the workflow, by the time I finish one thing, the next thing's ready for me to work on it. But that's a very, very good tip. Thank you for putting it out there because it reminded me. Yay! So the other leaf had zigzag. Oh, the other leaf has zigzag edges with a different shape. Thank you, Barbara. See, obviously I don't know. I just don't know. That's because I don't know. So, but it's very, very, very cute, this leaf here. All leaves are cute, honestly. So we made the platter over here. This is the big fern platter. Made this, right? That was awesome. We made the little cute little dish. Did I do this as a class? Was this part of, or was this just fun? I think this is just fun. So now you all have it. Fun. This little dish. I don't think I did a class for it. It's okay. I don't have to because now you all know. Here it is. Done. Showed you the whole thing.
I think you do have something that's a little dish that shape.
I mean, I haven't done one, so I got this. And then we did this guy, which he's wet right now. When he is dry, you then can drape him over a mold. Like we did with that big platter. You just wait for this to dry, and then you can make something with him, or you make a coaster, right? You just made a fabulous coaster. And if you were rolling out a slab to make a mug with, then same thing applies. You have to let it dry so that the underglaze doesn't smear, and then you can work with it. All right, so after the bisque fire, what will I do? That's such a good question, Barbara. So for this little guy right here, you have a couple choices for glazing. You could use a oxide to stain it. I'm going to stain it with something, either a black underglaze to fill in my texture, or I could use some of Georgie's interactive pigments and stain it with those, and then put a glaze on top. So you get something kind of like this one right here, or depending on the one you use, you get something like this right here, right? Or if you just want to use a black or a dark underglaze, you could do that, and then you can put a Celadon glaze on top. Honestly, any Celadon glaze will look amazing on leaf plates. Celadon glazes love texture. They look great, they highlight it, they fill in the texture nicely, yet you still can see it. So, I mean, if you like pink, you could go with Cherry Blossom from Amico. That's a really pretty one. I also love their Tangelo. My Oribe, which will be coming out this fall from Clayscapes Pottery, is to die for on texture. It really is. And I think it would be perfect on the leaves. Honestly, this one I'll probably use my Oribe on. So you have to tune in to see how this finishes. So I have to check it out. All right, so I just want to remind everybody about the Mako giveaway and the awesome deal from Clayscapes Pottery. So we are giving away an 8-pack of Mako glazes. And the glazes in here are Muddy Waters. They are Desert Dusk, the Oxblood and Speckled Toad, Night Moth, Antique Brass, the Dark Green, and the Blue Gloss. So that's what you get in here. And this right here is Muddy Waters. How gorgeous is Muddy Waters? It's beautiful. But even better is when you put Muddy Waters on top of Lavender Mist. Look at that. Keeping this one. I love it. Muddy Waters, 2 coats of Lavender Mist, 2 coats of Muddy Waters. You get this yumminess right there. So you don't get all the glazes you might want for combinations in this stoneware little glaze kit that we're giving away. So you can go buy the ones you want and save 25% from Clayscapes Pottery. So use the code EXPLORE10. And the drawing for the winners will be announced on the 29th. So next week we're going to glaze with Mako glazes. And if you have combos you want to see, send them to me. So you know that means there'll be a kiln opening to go along with that later next week. And then we'll do the giveaway the week after. So that's what we got going on. New classes on Claysha are making your own gripper pad. Oh, I have it right here. Make your own gripper pad. And we did the dip chillers. That's last week's new class. So you have to just stay tuned and see what's coming next. Everybody, thank you so much for joining me. A mug with leaf would be amazing, I agree. So try that out. And always share what you're making. Use the hashtag MadeWithClayShare. I love to see what you all are making. And make great pots, everyone. I will catch you next week. Bye, everybody.